Base's chief policy officer. Faryar, do you have a number in your head? The stock hits and you go, I'm just retired. I'm off into the sunset, or no?
I think the potential is enormous. We're talking about updating the financial system and adding a new technological rail on the internet that allows you to transfer value as easily as you send an email or a text. The potential of that is enormous. It's enormous for Coinbase and its stock, but it's huge for the economy, and that's very exciting.
But do you look at the last 3 months and go, you know what? It's not that easy. I hear some of even those who love Bitcoin have been fans, have been in it from the start, see the gains as big as you mentioned, go, well, okay, we don't go through periods like this that often.
I think the last 4 years under the Biden administration were really unusual in the sense that you had the U.S. government in an all-out war against innovation in digital assets. It just didn't make any sense. And so the fact that we're sort of back in a more normalized period that's more consistent with America's tradition of embracing innovation is, I think, what's unleashed what you've seen in terms of market performance, investment, innovation, growth, people taking the opportunity to build new systems that work better for the American people. All of that's really exciting. It's sad we lost 4 years, for really no reason at all, but I'm glad we're back in the game and the U.S. can be a leader again.
So, and that's a clever take on the situation, but there are 3 pieces of legislation this week. Genius Act is specifically about stable coins. This one, we get a lot of questions from people. What are stable coins? Why is Circle up so much? And, it does feel like we're in a little bit of the hype phase. Ultimately, this is probably the biggest boon for the U.S. government. I wrote about that today. They are buying lots of treasuries already. If this legislation passes and they have to be backed one-to-one with super safe assets, you're talking, what do you think the number is? Upwards of $3-4 trillion in demand for treasury bills over the next decade, possibly?
Yeah, obviously nobody knows, but I think smart people are using trillions as the sort of the ballpark around which they guess what the scale of adoption is going to be of stablecoins. Think about it. Right now, all the payments that we do in the American economy operate under 20th century technology. So we're right on the verge of a payment revolution as a result of the Genius Act. The House will pass it tomorrow. The president will sign it into law probably on Friday. And then we'll see pretty rapid implementation. And for every issuance of a tokenized dollar, $1 will be held in reserves, typically in the form of U.S. treasuries. So right now, stablecoin issuers around the world are the 16th largest holders of U.S. treasuries. By some estimations, stablecoin issuers will become the largest holders of stablecoins, bigger than China, bigger than Japan. And I think that's critical at this point of high debt in the U.S. economy.
This week, first off is the Genius Act, which already passed the Senate, which moves us forward in stablecoin. That furthers dollar dominance around the globe. The second major piece of legislation is clarity. Clarity brings us actual regulatory certainty so that we can win the Web3 race here in the United States, protect consumers, and be in a position to outcompete other countries, and in particular China. And the third major piece of legislation is preventing central bank digital currency from being developed and forced upon the American people. These 3 pieces of legislation, I think, will all pass the House floor and make sure that the United States is the world leader in the Web3 race.
Ability of stablecoins to be large buyers of U.S. treasuries. And while on the positive end of that spectrum, that would mean you have another buyer of U.S. treasuries while the U.S. debt load is as large as it is. The risk here is that the stablecoin industry, critics would say, could become too big to fail. How do you protect that industry from becoming so large that it could require a bailout someday?
I think actually the regulatory framework will actually reduce and prevent that risk. Why? Because currently stablecoins are growing, but in an unregulated manner. So we already see them as one of the largest purchasers of U.S. treasuries. What the Genius Act does is puts in place a regulatory framework that makes sure that we have additional transparency as it relates to the audit, and make sure that they're governed and regulated under U.S. laws. And so what I think we'll actually see is the opposite of the risk that you just proposed, which is if we don't regulate in this space, what we have is the risk that you would have some sort of significant financial challenge. What we're doing is putting regulations in place to try to limit and prevent future risk.
Hey, John. Well, lawmakers were hoping to be able to regroup, find a new way forward, and move ahead this evening, but now they are all being told to head home as a group of hardline lawmakers remain at an impasse with President Trump about how they should be moving these bills through. Again, a lot of these hard members, they really want to make sure that they are banning that central bank digital securities, national bank digital currency. They have a lot of concerns about the national security aspects, about personal safety aspects. But at this point, Trump, so far, has said that he still wants that stablecoin bill to come to the House this week, which means that all three need to go separately instead of being combined. Republican leadership meeting with a number of lawmakers as well as senators this afternoon, but it seems that negotiations are going to have to go into tomorrow. Remember, the crypto industry, they were really banking on getting these bills done, and now it seems like everything is up in the air until they can find a path forward.
And so we will start to sell H20s to the Chinese market, and I'm looking forward to shipping H20s very soon. And so I'm very happy with that very, very good news. The second news is that we're also announcing a new GPU called RTX Pro. And RTX Pro is very important because it's designed for computer graphics in digital twins and AI.
Welcome to the Cryptoteacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Coinbase on digital currencies updating the financial system. And now, since these crypto companies are public, they're out in the mainstream media telling you the mission, but unfortunately the sheep are asleep and they have no clue. They're telling you right up front, right out the horse's mouth, we're updating the financial system. And we have these stablecoin issuers that are going to be buying up these treasuries and then also labeled as a fintech bank. And with all these stablecoin issuers buying up these treasuries, and we know a lot of these countries are going to be getting off the dollar and not buying these treasuries, they're going to be the substitute. But unfortunately, when we get into this currency war, they're going to take a hit. And it's going to be a run on these stable coins, and whose hands is going to land into? The Fed, the central banks. And stable coins are CBDCs anyway. If you're buying treasuries, and then on top of it, you put that smart contract on it, they'll be able to tell you what, when, how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have the Stable Coin Bill Genius Act being paused. But guys, we know it's nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. We know it's 1 step back, 2 steps forward. The politicians have to put on the acting role that they're not getting along, but at the end of the day, they're going to push this agenda forward. And then we have NVIDIA CEO says that they'll be able to sell these H20 chips to our adversary. Don't forget, guys, China is the adversary. Why would we be selling chips to China? Because this is a plan. It moves in phases. And the RTX Pro is for graphics, digital twin, and AI. And guys, we know that is a setup for the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Scott Besson on China opening its markets. And we know that is definitely not going to happen. China has already moved them goods over into the emerging markets. And we have Trump in Pennsylvania. And we know how important Pennsylvania is when it comes to history. But he's there for the AI and Energy Summit. And these big corporations announced a $90 billion investment to make Pennsylvania a hub for artificial intelligence. Yes, guys, you heard that correct. And you got Blackstone, Brookfield, CoreWeave, Google, Constellation Energy, and Meta, just to name a few. And don't forget when Trump declared a national emergency and then created Stargate, which is quietly being done behind the curtain. And I took my sons to go see Superman, If you haven't seen it, make sure you go see it. But all these data centers are set up for a reason, and that reason is for these machines to take over this economy without a human involved. And that's the physical agenda. But there's a whole nother agenda when you look at the spiritual side. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we had inflation coming in at about 2.7%. If you take out gas, and we know they like to take out stuff, but take out gas, you're looking at 3.4%. And they're keeping gas low because they know the things that we use on a daily basis just keep rising. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Donald Trump Jr. selling his gun SPAC deal using the same talking points as he uses in crypto. And we see Trump and the Trump family willing and dealing. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget about the books.
These indigenous manufacturers, namely Huawei and some others, already have an equivalent chip. So, if there's an equivalent chip, then the NVIDIA H20 could be sold, because I can tell you the one thing that we do not want is a digital Belt and Road springing up around the world, because other countries or China are substituting for our American chip manufacturers.
This is the same chip, though, that the Trump administration blocked with export controls in April. So why the change in policy now?
Anne-Marie, you might say that that was a negotiating chip that we used in Geneva and in London.
So this was part of the trade talks when it comes to Washington and Beijing?
Yes.
Was it a quid pro quo then? As you said, it wasn't, but was it potentially to make sure that you can get the licenses when it comes to rare earths?
Yeah, I think it was all part of a mosaic. They had things we wanted, we had things they wanted, and we're in a very good place. I expect to meet my Chinese counterpart, the vice premier, in the next few weeks.
So when and where will that meeting take place?
We're still working on that. The Chinese leadership has a big conclave at the beginning of August, so we're trying to work out whether that could be in a third country before or after that conclave.
Work of the Geneva and London talks?
Well, we have released some of it, and I'll tell you that now, having settled on tariffs, on the export controls, we can move on to the next stage of talks. And I think it's very important, both for the global economy, for the U.S. economy, and for the Chinese economy, for us to move on and talk about China opening its markets and the increased domestic and consumer production there.
I don't think second is too close. That's a big statement. This afternoon, 20 leading technology and energy companies are announcing more than $92 billion of investments in Pennsylvania. And if you want, we could probably get them up. Let's talk to them right now. But this is a really triumphant day for the people of the Commonwealth and for the United States of America. We're doing things that nobody ever thought possible. As of about a month and a half ago, when we came back from the Middle East, we came back with $5.1 trillion of investments from the three countries that I mentioned, and they're great people, great leaders of those countries. But we came back with many, many planes that they are going to build through Boeing. They came back with a package of goods that were, nobody's seen. I don't think anybody's seen. $5.1 trillion. And we are now at about $16 trillion, and we're at a little bit less than 6 months, but really we're probably at 3 months because it took me a little time to get started, right? So in 3.5, 4 months, let's say, we have about $16 trillion. There's never been anything like that in history. You can go for years and they didn't have numbers like that. And if you look at the last administration, you had negative numbers. You didn't have positive numbers. You're going in the wrong direction. But we have the hottest country, and we're going to keep it that way. Today's commitments are ensuring that the future is going to be designed, built, and made right here in Pennsylvania and right here in Pittsburgh, and I have to say right here in the United States of America.
Things like, toys and apparel and furnishing, they all moved up more. Those are kind of the things you would associate with being imported from China. What offset that were some other service things and used car prices that had a seasonal adjustment down. So within that number, you saw the beginnings of some moving up in tariffs. But you're right, it wasn't that the overall number got pushed, but that might be coming in the months ahead.
Are there safety concerns in this, Don?
No, I mean, that's the big misnomer. They say you're not getting a gun to your doorstep. You're still going through federal firearms license dealers. But we're also
physically pick it up.
To go physically pick it up. That's where you run your background checks again. And they like to pretend there's not such a thing, but it actually is very real and it's very regulated. But this is the way that regular people are buying. Throughout the crime of the last few years that you've seen, women are now entering the gun market. The experience of going to your local gun shop, it may be fine for me. When I walk in, it's, hey, Don, how's it going? If you're a first-time gun buyer, if you're a female, if you're someone that's young, that's an uncomfortable experience in many cases. So Grab a Gun allows you to do that the way you'd buy everything else, like you would on Amazon if you're buying home decor or other goods. And so we're bringing the experience that they're shopping with everything else to the regular consumer, and it's been incredible. And so it's a company with real revenue. They're doing $100 million a year, real profit, and, pretty kind of cool to take a gun company public on the New York Stock Exchange. That's not something that I imagine many people would have envisioned a while ago, but there has been that big pushback from a big portion of the country that says we weren't able to do these things. We were debanked, we were de-insured, we were de-everythinged for so long. So our whole thesis was to give a big portion of the country what they've been looking for and to free up and really democratize the capital markets.
And you're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box, provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos: Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance,